Hi, everyone. This is Joni McGarry. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I'm with Monica Perez, who is my very first podcast guest. She is my podcast doula and good friend. She is a terrific commentator, a great podcaster, all around big brained person. Welcome to the show, Monica.
Thank you, Joni. I'm not sure I deserve all that, and you're setting the expectations too high since it's wine night in the Perez
Yes,
household.
it is. We're actually
Cheers to you.
raising our glasses to each other and to the end of the year.
Yeah.
We're going to do a light conversation about this and that, little holiday cheer. So it's really just good to see your face and to be able to talk to you. For our listeners who don't know who you are, which I can't even imagine, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm at the moment a podcaster, the Monica Perez Show. My show's morphed a lot over the years. I started as a radio host, which wasn't even my thing. Just talked to somebody and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you never stop talking. You should be on the radio." And she worked in the radio. So I did that. Then did some podcasting, did the propaganda report, which was like every single day for the entire lockdown, like 2 years straight. And it had a real purpose in life. And then, uh, life started up again and I had to cut back. So now I'm doing the Monica Perez Show. And then the last year, my entire town burnt down. And so my flagship is like the newsreel, which is just the analysis of the news as it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't been able to do that because there's almost always a jackhammer, a circular saw. The stuff that's happening in my neighborhood went from Gaza to the moon to farmland, and now it's a construction site. So
Wow.
it's very hard for me to concentrate or do anything. It's hilarious. It's really funny. I do still do a couple of shows. I read books and people chime in the chat. It's really fun. We read together. I do interviews and guest spots, but it's comical. And then the dog, I have an insane dog who barks at everything. So he's in the entire time. It's like an Odd Couple episode. He's just barking the entire. I'm just trying to do a podcast, and there's a circular saw and screaming Mexican music, and my insane dog. So it used to be a very serious show. Now it's a very, very lighthearted show.
Well,
Because
maybe
it's
that's
comical.
maybe the world needs that right now. When you said your town burned down, it literally burned
Literally
down.
burned to the
Um,
ground.
and
Yeah.
you live in Altadena. Can I say
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
So where is it now? I mean, when you say there's all this construction happening,
Yeah.
what
No,
kind of construction is there?
we've had so many phases of this. It's been interesting. I really thought I would take a real interest in how they were rebuilding everything. I don't do too much of that. Altadena is actually like they're doing individual lots and they're building back the same houses that were
Oh,
before.
good.
It's good.
Because
Pacific Palisades.
you had a great
Yeah.
neighborhood, a great town.
Yes, it was
Yes.
so when I moved in here 2 years ago, I literally said out loud probably many times, "What are they gonna do to fuck this up?" And
Here you are.
and I mean, I don't know if Big T, they deliberately targeted this. I have my theories of what Big
Mhm.
T they did, who in that the they in any particular incident is like somebody a little bit different
Mhm.
from other times. So I have my idea of who this was and what it was all about. But right now, there is some building. My husband was volunteering for like Habitat for Humanity or whatever around here, which I always think anything that I've heard of, I'm like, I'm sure it's like some UN like psyop. But they built a house, and anyway, so
You
those
really
guys are
live it
saying,
now.
I mean,
You
yeah,
find
it's fine. Like
something out of it.
you got to get something out. It's like limited hangouts.
Right.
Like I get more out of them than they get out of me. But
Uh-huh.
he said they were saying it was going to be 7 years, but I see houses that are absolutely framed, wrapped in the Tyvek. And I mean, the
Oh,
fire
that's
was January 8th.
encouraging.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what they're trying to do. The Habitat for Humanity is trying to put like one house on every block so that the other people can, it's like seeding them rather than like doing a big tract and giving it to
Yeah.
people who don't even live there. So it's turning out okay here. But it's fucking annoying. And my neighbors got super worried. There's a lot of propaganda about smoke gets into your walls and then it comes back out later and suffocates your children when they're sleeping. So,
I don't mean
no,
to laugh. I mean,
it's no,
having
it's
worries like that when you have it's not funny, but
no, they're not small children, they're big children, but, like, that's
okay.
what people are worried about. So, by some miracle, I say it's my mother, every single house I'm adjoining did not burn down. It's just a
Right.
circle and my house, and that's it. If you stood on my roof, it would look like, just an island. There are
Wow.
pictures like that. It's like, wow. But but our neighbor just freaked out and, like, pulled the stucco off his house, pulled the plaster off the walls, pulled the drywall down, took the roof off. So now I'm living next to a because he thinks that the smoke got into you
Into
know,
the walls.
in the walls, and it's gonna,
Wow.
seep back out forever, and it's like, "Dude, no one else thinks that, so you should have just sold your house." You know what
Well,
I mean?
but
Just sell your house, like, nobody else is gonna be afraid. Maybe they will. I don't know.
so the building there is different than in Pacific Palisades, and that also
Mm,
burned, right? So what are they doing there that's
yeah.
different?
I think they have a lot of issues. I think there are, like, a lot of code issues. So here, the one beautiful thing about Altadena was, the old fireplaces, the chimneys, and there was, like, this artist, Bachelder, I think it was, made these beautiful fireplaces. So after the fire, you would just walk around, I mean, you would just weep, like, the only
Mm.
thing left was the fireplaces, and there's, like, hundreds of them, if not thousands, and the code is that you can't have a fireplace anymore. So what
Oh,
was so my house has a fireplace, which was one of the fireplace in the vineyard and the wine cellar is why my husband was like, "Okay, we'll take that house because you
yeah.
can't have a fireplace anymore." So it really changes the whole because 'cause we're, like, in the woods and the mountains, and it was really nice. So that's the only code difference, but in the Pacific Palisades, from what I understand, one of the issues is it's on the water. It's like, um, some of these houses were built basically on the beach and on
Mhm.
stilts, whatever, and now the codes are like, you can't do that. You have to build like a seawall. You have to do all these things. And, I think that there's just struggles of how to do it. And,
And also affording to build back the same property
yeah,
that you had or something similar. I mean, even if you're wealthy and live there, there are
yeah,
degrees of wealth that
yeah. So here, my neighborhood is like, there's literally one side of the main boulevard is like middle and upper middle. And then the
Mhm.
other side was middle and lower middle. Um, so my side, which is the middle and upper middle, is, like, very well insured and people are building back. The other side are people who inherited their houses from their grandparents and maybe had no insurance and, um, I'm sure people care about them and there's a lot of help out there, but they have more struggles, I'm sure. But in the Pacific Palisades, it's even more polar. So they
Mm.
had, like, mobile homes that were there for, like
Mm.
Jim Rockford type stuff, and then incredibly huge $35 million houses. Now they are complaining, and this I understand. You have a $35 million house that didn't burn down because it's made of not burning down stuff. And then
Is that the official,
yes,
title
that's
of the
what it is.
material? I'll take
Yes,
that,
that's
please.
you'll see that it's in the code. And but like they'll say, all right, and this actually happened to us. All the rubber around I just was watching some TV show or whatever, like, all the rubber around the windows is, like, melted, and insurance wants to pay for the rubber around the windows, but they don't wanna pay for the wall and the windows, like, this is a $35 million house, you cannot just repair it, so, it's people like me, I'm not singing the blues, but it's people like me that have had so our little patio burnt down, and they're like, "Okay, it's $6,000 to replace that rickety wooden piece of crap that was your patio," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I can't replace that. I'm not putting a wooden piece of crap that's what lit everything on fire, like,
Right.
everything,
It's
and it
kindling.
spread to the back house, and yeah, like, I don't want my neighbors to, like, think through how like, what ember actually lit on fire. But, like, the fence burnt down, and we're replacing it with a wall, so for us, it's, like, well over $100,000 more than insurance, and no one would even think that we had any impact, but it
Yeah.
was a huge financial impact, and we just bought the house, so we lost all our equity. So
Right.
it's a huge, huge loss. Now, we're paying our bills, so it's okay, you don't feel it until you have to sell it, and you can't, can't sell your
Right.
house and
Right.
take that job you need in Ohio or whatever. we're not in that position right now, but that I think that's the worst position because if it burnt down to the ground, they will give you a choice. Like we will pay your rent for 2 years while you rebuild it, and we'll give you the money to rebuild it, or we'll just give you the money and you leave.
Leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
So
that's it
that's
that's
it.
just insurance. That's not some kind of
Right.
program.
No, that's just
That's your
insurance, and if
insurance, yeah.
so you're really, I would say, better off. My house is nice, like, it's not fancy, but it's old, and you wanna
And it's
we
special.
preserved it. Yeah, we
Yeah.
preserved like, it has these weird old features, like these roller screens that are embedded, like, if you look up
Oh,
on the
wow.
windows, they're casement windows, and you just there's embedded in the wall, you just pull this little thing, and down comes a screen, and
Oh,
it's
that's
totally
cool.
yeah, but there
When
we
things were well designed and well built.
yeah, but we spent $2,000 fixing them when we moved in because we wanted to preserve that
Yes.
historical element. So it's good that it didn't burn down to the ground, but we would be in much better
Yeah,
financial shape.
yeah,
We'd be winners instead of losers. And I
right.
think that that kind of thing is bad. And but the Pacific Palisades, I think they're fighting with the city about codes, and I just hope they don't do a lot of affordable housing and multi-use stuff, which is on the other side of the street. People would want to do here, I think,
Well,
but
and it's
I'll
always
see.
ugly. It's in
Yeah,
5 years, it's gonna look like crap. Our city's loaded with it.
and they
It's
subsidize it. It's like it's either a plot or just a pattern, but they subsidize it. They make it a big deal. They get everybody to vote for it. They subsidize it. They build it, and then 5 years later, they want to get elected on something else, and so there's no developer bribing you to keep that subsidy going. It's a developer
right,
bribing you to get one for another one.
right.
So then they turn into slums. Like, that's a real pattern. So you just don't want any kind of subsidized housing in your vicinity because it's going to degenerate, just has to.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way things go.
Yeah.
I was thinking I've been listening to this podcast, called Pax Romana. I had, the host of it on recently. His name's Colin Elliott, and he basically takes you through the history of Rome, starting with Caesar, and
Fantastic.
Monica is so good. I mean, because
Really?
well, I'm learning a lot because I don't know that history, right? But he got to the part where, the fire is burning, and Rome has this terrible, terrible
Yes.
fire. And because there's nothing new under the sun, what Nero does, he wasn't fiddling, by the way. He was
Okay.
singing at a concert in another town. That's a whole
Okay.
different story. But he basically takes a lot of land that had been burned, confiscates it to build a palace. And I just thought,
Did he burn
there
it
you
on purpose?
well, there is some speculation that he did, but it's not entirely true. There's no real evidence for that, but the people at the time thought maybe. I mean, he
Yeah.
was all sorts of messed up, but I just love the fact that, even
Yeah.
back
Oh, yeah.
then,
Eminent
something
domain.
yeah,
Yeah.
they just take it because, they
Yeah.
can. They just
Yeah.
take the land, and he built this big, huge palace that he never finished, of course, because he died because, everybody
Syphilis
was killing each other.
or
Well,
whatever.
no, I think
Oh, no, the emperors were all getting killed, like, there's one 13-day emperor or whatever, right?
I don't think I'm
That
at that
that
part
era?
yet. I think there's a 4 emperor thing, but anyway, so it's just been interesting to learn that and just realizing that I mean, they were nuts, but I think people, if they got the real history of what's happening now and looked back at it, I mean, this is nuts. It's madness. I mean, we're
Yeah.
just used to it.
Yeah.
If somebody put you to sleep 10, 15 years ago and you woke up right now, you'd be
Oh,
like,
that's what I said during
"No,
COVID. I said, if
what?"
you woke up in the middle of COVID not knowing what the story was, you would think there was a financial crisis.
"Oh, wait,
You would have
what?"
thought that it was like the Great Depression because, like, this interest rates and, the financial stimulus, and nobody was really sick, you
Right,
know?
they were just
Like,
home, nobody could
yeah,
do
I mean,
anything.
nobody's just like maybe people had colds or whatever. I mean, I don't think it didn't exist. I think actually the vaccine spread it. Oh, sorry.
Interesting.
Saying, like, the word vaccine will mess up your thing.
No,
I guess you're saying
it's
it all the time.
I'm not saying it all the time, but I do say it, and I don't think about it. Like, if so what are they gonna do? Throw me off YouTube? It's not
Yeah,
like
that's what they
I'm
do.
not monetized at this point. I don't maybe at some point I will, but I don't wanna
Yeah.
get into a position where I just can't say what I think.
Yeah,
Um,
anyway, they start giving you strikes, so you
yes.
get 3. So if you get 1
I haven't gotten any yet.
yeah.
I think it's
What
because
I
I don't
do
nobody
maybe it's too
comes to
slow.
see it.
Yeah. What I do is I've done this a couple of times, um, as soon as I start getting strikes, I delete all of my videos.
Do you
All of
delete
them.
them or do
Yep.
you just put, like are they
I
gone forever?
I put
I
them on
mean
private, and then, that didn't work. So, yeah, a lot of them. Now I basically have everything on Rumble also, so it would not be lost forever. It's just
Right.
like, I don't think of YouTube as a place to save things.
Yeah. Well, it's just
I
my
think of
stuff
it as a
goes
place
over
to
there.
stream.
Yeah, which I'm gonna learn how to do, I promise.
Yes, I'm happy to help you learn how to do it.
Thank
It's
you. I know it's probably not hard. I just haven't I mean, it's all I can do to, figure out how to produce the episodes, get the guests, get up my courage to record them, and so far,
yeah.
it's been pretty good, and it also as you get older, which you will find out, young lady, you start just giving many fewer fucks, excuse my
Yes.
you
Yes,
just
I'm definitely
you
there.
you don't care, and it's
It's
so great.
amazing.
It is
Yeah, it's like, "That
amazing.
guy's not gonna like me," and I really don't care.
Yeah, I
It's,
don't
like,
care.
amazing, like, I can't believe it.
And if only when you were 20, if only you had known.
Well,
Although I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have learned all the things I learned,
I
it
I
would have
was
been
pretty out of
great.
line. So, I think it was good that people got mad at me and I got in trouble a lot. Like, that's probably good.
But you probably cared what people
Yeah,
thought of
no,
you.
they yes, maybe when I was 40, I stopped caring. That was
Well, gosh, it took me a little longer. So I know we're gonna keep this light, but I've been thinking a lot lately about healthcare.
Mhm.
And because, everyone's premiums are going through the roof, which you may or may not be experiencing because you might have corporate healthcare or
Yeah, I
through,
do,
like,
but
a job.
it's high. It's my husband's, it's high, and the way they do it, it's like a cafeteria, so you have to make decisions about what you want, and it's expensive.
Yeah, because I'm on the marketplace, right? Because I'm not Medicare
Right.
yet, and my husband's retired, and my premiums were going up, so they were gonna be like $17,000 a year with an
Yeah.
$8,000 deductible. So I think I'm opting out, and I'm
Yeah.
shocked that I'm gonna do it. But I wonder how many people are going to just say no right now. I'm gonna do a
Well,
source, and I'm in a position I can do it. But it'll be really interesting. It would be if everybody said no, what would happen?
what would happen to you if you had a catastrophic health event? What would happen?
Well, if I had a catastrophic health event in this crowdsourcing, the company, it's called Crowd Health. What they do is they negotiate rates on your behalf because they have a lot of members, and then the crowd funds it. And also, you have to have, I think, some ability to self-insure, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
there's that, and not everyone can do that. And I don't know what happens when you can't pay your bills like
Well,
that.
you go bankrupt. People go
Right.
bankrupt.
Yeah. But knock wood. I
So
just
in
think
your so what is crowd? What is this?
it's called crowd health, and
And you're doing it
I'm gonna
instead of
I think I'm gonna do it.
right, okay.
I have regular insurance for the rest of this year, and this isn't like a plug or a pitch for them
Well, but
because
that
I
is
haven't
what
done it
healthcare
yet.
insurance is supposed to be. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be people in the same I'm sure you're in the same risk pool as the people who would be funding you. Has to be.
Yeah, what they do is they don't allow people in over a certain weight. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Right.
sure people
It's
like,
the risk pool is
"Oh"
important,
so
yeah.
it's a risk pool. So, like, I think if you're a woman, you can't weigh over 220, which seems like a lot, and a man, 260. You have to be under 65 because you have Medicare after that, and you can't be a smoker, and, you can't have a couple of other things, and then you join, and I'm sure they screen you in another way. I don't even know if they have to have a medical thing, but you pay a monthly fee, like 60 bucks. And then every month you'll be asked to fund somebody's situation. And y- y- but you have a maximum on how much you're asked to pitch in. You don't know who that person is, but you'll be told what their generosity score is. And what that means is when they've been asked, how many times have they said yes? So the people that don't get funded, it's a very, very small number out of, like, say, like 42 people out of 20,000 haven't been funded. They never pitch in. So people when they those come
That's
across,
a crazy system. Why not
but
make it mandatory to pitch in? Like, give you a weight or something. Either, yeah, wow,
it's
that's
not,
amazing.
but people do. And I don't know, I kind of love the voluntary aspect of it and that it feels like a good thing to do. Now, maybe it'll totally be a
Well,
disaster, but it doesn't they've been doing it for 5 years. The reviews are
wow.
off the chain, and I think it provides like a completely voluntary marketplace for people to come together and say, and it is exclusive because they're not letting in 2-pack-a-day smokers who
Yeah,
don't take
yeah.
care of themselves.
Yeah,
So already you selected out a group of
yeah,
people
that's great.
who health is important to, and then you have this, like, maximum payment per month that you'll ever be asked to do, so it ends up being, like, not that much money. Um, yeah,
I love that because it really sounds to me like proof of my concept of what, like, love is. It's like you have to or family or whatever. You have to be there for people because you need people to be there for you. It's, like, not that big a
exactly.
deal. And I also had an idea of, like, so all the people I know many people have children who have Down syndrome because that's my community, and they're mostly liberals, and they're, "What would I do without social services?" and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, "Well, not that, you'd be screwed now because you expected social services, but if there
You
weren't,
depend on them.
you depended on them ahead of time." So my thought was, well, what would you do if there weren't any? And my thinking was, well, I was 34 when my son was born who had Down
Mhm,
syndrome. So if all the 34-year-olds who are pregnant in the country, like a million, all put in $100, you would have like 3.4, or $340 million, and
mhm.
the 34 kids who were born with Down syndrome would get 10 million bucks each.
Wow.
I mean,
What a
that's how it would work.
what a concept.
That's
But,
insurance. It's just insurance.
yeah,
And it's
and then
great and it would work. And the most of what the government does of the things, the safety net, you could just do. And if you have the right risk pool, the amount of money you have to pay is very little. And then it's the opposite of a moral hazard because this happened to me once. I got life insurance and I didn't know they were gonna come, like, take my blood and urine or whatever, and it was, like, a year into it. They
oh,
came
wow, they
over,
didn't do it right away? They did
they
it
did it, and
afterward?
then for some reason they followed up, maybe because I had a baby or whatever, I don't know, and I had had a cigarette. No, I wasn't smoking again, and they were like, "No, we're canceling your policy."
'Cause you had
So,
1 cigarette?
they just had
'Cause
nicotine in my
right, and
system.
so how would they know if you were
Yeah, they didn't
smoking a
care.
packet? Yeah, well,
So they
you
said,
can't discern.
"You can try again in a year," and guess what? I never smoked another cigarette again for 16 years until my neighborhood burned down, and then I smoked for a year, but I stopped again.
Okay, good, I'm glad you
Um,
stopped.
yes, thank you. But, yeah, so I was immediately like, "Oh, I'm never smoking. It's totally not worth smoking," because their interests are aligned with yours. They want you to be, to live.
Right, right, well, life
Yeah,
insurance does for
yeah.
sure.
Whereas
Now
health
health
insurance might not want you to live, they want you to die.
right, they want you to pay in a lot right before you do, though.
Yeah, and yes, right, 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 and die quickly, but
They
yeah,
want they
yep.
want you to die catastrophically.
Yes, exactly,
And
exactly, so
quickly, yes.
yes, so smokers live less long for sure, and they do cost the healthcare system less. People say, like, "You cost the healthcare system." No, because they die, like, 10 years sooner.
Huh. Well,
I think
I
so,
don't know. I bet you could find some stats that might, counter that, just from a
because you
COPD
spend so much money
standpoint.
on lung
Everything
cancer.
else. I mean, you have lung cancer, you have heart disease, you have, I don't know, all
But
sorts of
maybe these are people
crazy
who
crap.
aren't accessing the healthcare system.
Maybe. But, like,
You know what
okay,
I mean?
so but what do you do with people who are really high risk? Like, what kind of like, the reason things things aren't working, well, for so many reasons, and I don't really know what they are, how the structure is bad, I just know it's bad. Um, I guess, like, how would you get a crowdfunding for people who have terrible health?
Why do they
Like,
have terrible health?
well, suppose they have terrible health because they're, morbidly obese, because they have, rheumatoid arthritis. They have they have difficult conditions that require a lot of payment. This kind of crowdsourcing that's voluntary, I mean, it wouldn't really work, and if you had those kind of, like, pools, you'd have to have a bunch of wealthy sick people because you'd be paying a lot for
Well,
each
they wouldn't get
right?
into a pool with somebody else. They're self-insure, right? At
I
that point.
guess if at that point you would.
So,
I mean, I don't
I
know,
would
maybe it's not that interesting, but
no, it is
I
interesting. I wanna listen to it.
something has to happen. Like, this is not sustainable. I mean, I think we're
So,
gonna end up with socialized healthcare completely because
yeah.
the system will break, and then, of course, the government will step in and save us all.
Well, ill health is subsidized. So, obesity and stuff like that, if you really had to pay the consequences of that kind of
Oh,
behavior, you would
you'd
but,
find
like,
some
actually,
way.
some of the obesity, if you've ever watched the show, which I watched a couple of times, but it's a little depressing, My 600 Pound Life.
I can't do it.
Did you ever
It's
watch any of them? Like, 1 episode?
I've seen, like a passing glimpse. I just can't handle it.
Every single solitary one of those people per force has an enabler because they're 600 pounds.
Right, because they can't do
They're
anything
they're
without a
not
person.
getting they can't drive, so they're not getting now I guess they could order food in, but but back in the day, they couldn't, and what I observed was, like, some of these enablers were in the person's life because they get so much social services. So the 600-pound person is not paying for his own food, he's not working. So he
Well,
has
how could
some
he work?
yeah, so he has some or and the one thing I'm thinking of is a woman, had this, like, skinny guy who's, like, her boyfriend, but he just got to live off of her scraps, so he would take her welfare money, go get the food, and eat, and live in her house, and it was just this enabling situation, so on the one hand, like, they not only enable, like, the sickness, but they enable they have the moral hazards. So my sister
Right.
died with a needle in her arm, um she was a drug addict, and she went to they kept her on methadone for decades. They paid for her to take a cab to the methadone clinic that was, like, across the river because she had gotten thrown out of the one in my town because she was so bad. So,
Mhm.
like, if you get thrown out of the one in your town, you're going to not do any of that shit anymore if nobody is giving you a cab ride. So she just
To
stayed
the next
addicted.
town,
Yeah, so
right.
she stayed addicted and then started to do heroin again and then had got fentanyl and died with a
Mm.
needle in her arm. But, but she was on disability. She couldn't work because she was a drug addict. So I'm like, so she was getting paid to
To be
do
a drug
nothing.
addict, yeah.
Terrible situation. It really, I mean, it killed her, really, really did kill her. But, but so you have that that big moral hazard. So you would have less of that, I think, in a freer system, like a system with totally unregulated insurance, because unregulated insurance is much cheaper. They, first of
They don't have
all,
to take everyone,
it would be
right?
almost first of all, they can assess by risk pool. It's you would probably only get catastrophic health
Which you
insurance.
cannot get now. You cannot get
Yeah,
it.
you're not allowed, right? And
It's not allowed, and I think that's just horrible.
right, because that's the only one that makes sense, and the way they did it was they would charge a fair premium, put it in the bank, make some money, and then what they paid out in, like, in claims,
Mhm.
they could subsidize with that interest. So you would actually pay in your premiums would be lower than the actuarially fair amount. Because if we each had to give $10,000 over a lifetime to get $10,000 back, that would be actuarially fair. But because they're making interest on all these premiums, you pay in 9,000 and get 10,000 out because there's competition in the market and they're like, we're going to keep some of the profit, but we can also lower premiums to compete with this other guy because we make so much interest.
Mhm.
So that's actuarially fair insurance and so it would be much cheaper because of all of that. And then, but there's also, you could, like, this is the thing about the edge case. The edge case should not be the policymaker.
What is
So
the
the
edge
whole,
case? Like,
like,
the
the
person who
fucking
has
obese person with rheumatoid arthritis who has no money and no friends and lives in the gutter. Okay, what are you gonna do with that person? I don't know. But that was the whole problem with
I don't mean
Obamacare.
to laugh, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
that's a
that's the
real
thing. It
pile
was, oh,
on.
we had Medicare and Medicaid. We had it.
We already had it, yeah.
We had it. Those were for old people and poor people. Why do you make all the people who do not qualify for subsidized healthcare buy healthcare? Which, by the way, is a financial instrument. It's health insurance. It is not medical care. You're not getting subsidies for medical care. You're buying a financial instrument. The same things like your mortgage is tax deductible, but your rent isn't because it's a financial instrument and that is subsidized.
I knew you'd know all about this, and here I am just
Well,
thinking,
it's
"How
math.
do I?"
I made it about math.
Well, you are a math person.
That's all I've got.
I just don't wanna participate in this terrible system anymore. I feel like this is like my one little, it's like the digital ID, it's like anything else, you have to just pick a spot to resist a little
Yeah.
bit.
I love
And
this idea. I absolutely adore it. Um,
it's very maybe I haven't seen the fly in the ointment yet. I mean, I unless they're lying, they seem to have a very good track record. When I talked to the guy, it made a lot of sense to me, And most people in that pool are healthy.
Is it just in your state?
No, it's everywhere. Now there are
How
some
does it
states
get around the regulations?
because it's not health insurance. It's not health insurance. So there are some states, I think there are some states where you have to buy a minimum amount of health insurance. It's state required. I'm not in a state like that. This is not health insurance, it's crowdfunding. And
Wow.
one of the questions I had too is when you have, okay, so let's say I broke both legs and I need $50,000 to fix my legs. And I go to the pool and they get the $50,000 from me, or they negotiate it down 25, and then I have $25,000 in bills. So what happens is you get that $25,000 deposited in your personal bank account so that you can pay the medical bill. And so I asked, like, why isn't that a taxable event? Right? And he said, because at this point, I never think about this, but crowdfunding is not a taxable event.
It's not earned income.
It's not, yeah, it's not even
Not earned.
taxable under the gift. I think, like, so if I try to give you
Oh, it's a gift.
$20,000, if I
Yeah.
give you $20,000, there's something gets taxed. Like
On
there's a minimum,
20?
well, maybe 20, 21, but there's a minimum amount or a maximum amount you can
Maximum, yeah.
give somebody per year. Over that, there's a tax implication. There's a tax situation that you are supposed to file information on that and pay some taxes. So you're capped on how much if you're alive. If you're dead, I think you can give people a lot more money, but if you're
Oh,
alive,
okay.
you can't just like I can't send you a check for $100,000, Monica, without it triggering a tax event, right? I could send you 19,000 maybe or 15,000 depending on the law. It changes all the time. You're probably looking it up.
19 federal.
19. All right. So I can do that, but anything over that is it triggers a tax event.
Yeah. So how is
So,
this?
but crowdfunding right now, it is not taxable. So if you crowdfund to start your company or Kickstarter or GoGo Fund or whatever it's called, that's not taxable money. Now, I think if let's just like do a thought experiment. If enough people decided they're going to go for this kind of pool, not health insurance, but to be in
Yeah.
this voluntary crowdfunding thing, and I don't think enough people will do it to trigger it, but I think the industry would get mad and lobby the IRS, and they would crush this by doing something to make these payouts a taxable event. That's what
Yeah.
I think, or some
Or
kind of
just categorize it
nefarious stuff is.
as a form of insurance, the way that
So it has to be regulated, right?
the Supreme Court called Obamacare a form of tax, and it's completely not. Like, it can't be a tax because it originated in the Senate. So it actually literally cannot be a tax, and yet they ruled that it was a tax because you can't force someone to buy something. Like, that was established as unconstitutional, and this
Right,
was the
and
government forcing.
right, 'cause they made everyone was supposed to buy health insurance, and so
Yeah.
how did they strike that down? Was it because they thought it was of it as compelled speech or under some kind of
Are you saying, like,
compelled purchase
recently when they eliminated the mandate?
when they eliminated the mandate? It wasn't that recent, right? It was
Well, it was years ago, but if they had just made that ruling in the beginning, it never would have existed. They
right,
only did it
because
after it
the
was
not
established.
right, because if they couldn't mandate,
Then it wouldn't work
it wouldn't work, and that's why
because they
it
need all
doesn't.
the people who are getting ripped off to contribute.
That's exactly right, and so that's why it doesn't work, but in this situation, you opt in. It's totally voluntary,
So
and to be a member, you have to pay your $60 a month, and there are 2 kinds of plans. One is for every event, you have to pay out of pocket for $500. After that, you get funded. That's called, like, I don't know, the premium plan, and then there's a black swan plan, which is like their catastrophic.
yeah, that's what I want, yeah.
Mhm. So the event would be 15 grand, which,
Perfect.
if you can put that in the bank, you have
That's
15
what
grand.
it is for
That's
your
what it
health
is.
insurance.
Right. Yes,
That's
that's
why I
exactly
hate the
right.
it has to be it makes no sense.
I have catastrophic health insurance for a premium product price, like if I go into the
Mhm.
exchange, right? So that's my deductible anyway. So if you do the black swan, you don't contribute quite as much, but you can't come to the pool unless if for anything under 15 grand.
If you're called upon to contribute, do they give you guidelines of what would be an expected contribution? What what
They
what do you know? Like, what would you
okay.
think? Give me numbers.
The max contribution that you will ever be asked for in a month is like, if you're a black swan person, it might be, and don't quote me here. I'll have to look it up
Yeah,
while we're
no,
on, if I can do
I just
that.
want to ball. Is
Um,
there a comma in it?
no, no, no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
It's a monthly
So
thing. Like you get an email every month, and they might, and the algorithm somehow pairs, like they split up the people who are asking, and they must go to a certain number of people to say, like, okay, patient X, who's like
right,
in you, and she has a generosity score of 100, which means you
right,
always donate when asked, or you always
right.
give when asked. She has a broken leg and needs, this much money, and your contribution will be $50. And you will
Wow.
never be asked to contribute more than something like $200 a month if you have the premium plan. So your whole nut for the year to be in this situation is like $3,000 or less, and you get every event over
Hey,
$500 funded. I mean, it really is, unless
can you layer that? Because if I could tell my
no.
husband, like, they give you a budget for your health insurance and he's had to, like, I think you get, maybe he has a different plan now, but for a while there, you got some of the money back. If you just took the minimum, which was still a lot, you're just like,
Mhm.
I only want $12,000 worth of health insurance. They would give you the $5,000 back, maybe in a healthcare spending account or whatever. I can't remember. But you could get the minimum thing if you had this as a backup. I mean, it might even work as
Yeah,
a
I don't see
layer.
why you couldn't have both. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, because I didn't see that there was any requirement that you be uninsured to opt into this pool. Like, that could be your catastrophic pool.
Well, they
Um,
probably couldn't possibly. That would probably blow up their whole claim that they're not insurance. They said
yeah,
you
and
can't have health insurance to be part of this club. That the government would say, then what you're saying is that you are a substitute for health insurance, and I'm going to call
right,
you health
right.
insurance.
And what do they care if you have health insurance? Like, when you think
No, they
about it, what
probably
do they
like it
care?
more. You're probably going to turn up less often for
Right,
their
but
stuff. Yeah.
maybe if you were, but you might not wanna contribute as month per month, but anyway,
But it's
to
so
me,
such a small amount.
well, when you compare it to what you would be paying on the marketplace, like, every month I would be paying something like $1,300 next year, and I am okay, so I'm 63, which is old, whatever, but I have, knock wood, I gotta knock something. I have exceptionally good health. I don't take any prescriptions. I go
Nice.
to, like, I barely go to the doctor, and even when I'm sick, like, especially I think it's because I'm married to a doctor,
Yeah.
um, you just don't go as much because you realize
Yeah, you're
most
just like,
things,
"Is this fine?" Like, "Yeah, it's fine."
yeah, most things resolve, or as my
Yep.
husband would say, "All bleeding stops." It's kinda
Yeah.
depressing, but true.
Yeah.
Most things resolve, and so I don't run to the doctor for everything. Why would I pay 1,300 a month for nothing and to
No.
support a system that is so broken?
Right.
It makes me feel
And
dirty. Ugh.
it's been because of the vax thing, they took out anybody who might be on your side. So,
Oh,
so I went
right?
to the doctor today and I even said to the doctor, it's like, I was gonna cancel this like 15 times. Like, I don't need to be here. There's nothing wrong with me.
I was like a
But
checkup kinda thing.
yeah, and just like they want you to do stuff, mammograms and blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm not doing any of that. And he's like, well, there's probably nothing wrong with you, but like whatever the protocol. And I was just like, he's like, this is what he said to me. You're taking your diagnostics into your own hands. And I was like,
Oh,
I was like,
wait, are you also, what,
I
doing your own research? Oh my god.
exactly. I was so like when I went in there, I was like, don't tell him I looked it up. Don't tell him I looked it up. So yeah, I was like, that what's wrong with that? But then I realized that they're all pod people now. They're all pod people. And they're kind of mad if you're not one. So I just um yeah, but like the other day I cut my finger crazy with a scissor by accident.
I
Literally
cut
like
mine today too.
yeah, it was so bad, but I, like, cut my fingerprint off. It was crazy, just sliced the whole thing off. Sorry, it
I hate
sounds gross, but it was bleeding and bleeding, and
Oh,
then, like,
yeah, your hand
I
bleeds
would
a
put
lot.
Band-Aids on, and then later when I took the Band-Aids off, it would start bleeding again. So, I was like, "I do not wanna go to the doctor," and my husband's like, "You gotta go." It's like, "What is he gonna do for me? He can't stitch it." It's like a friggin'
But
I
they
gotta
might
figure
wrap
this
it in a way that keeps it from
yeah,
getting
and
infected,
yeah,
I don't know.
maybe. I don't wanna go. So he's like, "All right, I'm gonna Google it for you." Or he's like, "Can I help?" Or I was like, "Just figure it out." He's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
She's like, "Put your hand above your head." I was like, "Wow, that helps a lot." And then I said, "Oh, all right, if we're thinking about stuff, I have that stuff I put on the dog's toenails,
Oh my
styptic or whatever, it makes it stop
Oh,
bleeding
stick my dad had one of those pencils when he
for
used to
when he
shave,
shaved."
and I remember I asked him about it, and he acted like it was some kind of, like, weird private thing. He's like, "Well," like, he wouldn't tell
'Cause
me
it
what
made
it
it
was for.
embarrassing. It was
Maybe, but I was
embarrassing to
like,
cut
"Does it
yourself.
have something to do with sex?" I mean,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
didn't
like,
know what
what
it
is that? Yeah.
was.
No,
Yeah.
because it's embarrassing to cut yourself. Well, I was so excited by this idea. My husband was like, "Yeah, it's in here. That's what you should do." Because it was just gushing blood. It wouldn't stop bleeding all over everything. So I got it. I was so excited, and I dump it on. You wouldn't know because your dog doesn't tell you. It hurts so much. It's uneffing believable. It was so I mean, like, I'm not
It's
a
a
crier, but
Does
there
it
were just
burn?
here, it was stings, it was throbbing, like, the tear I was laughing, it hurts, like, well, don't cry, but, like, there were tears streaming down my face, I'm, like, sitting around, like, "This is insane, like, what?" So when my mother died, she had a little bottle of Tylenol with codeine, so I ran in the back and I was like, Irene, cancel." So oops, sorry, I just doxed myself. So I took one and I was watching the clock. It takes 29 minutes for Tylenol with codeine to kick in. And I was just the whole time, like, tears streaming down. And I kept asking my husband who was watching TV, I was like, "Doesn't it pain you that I'm in pain?" And he's like, eating his pistachios, like, "Yeah, no, I feel bad for you. Yeah, no, it looks
What
bad."
can you do?
Nothing. But no, it's
That's
quite comical.
interesting.
Yeah,
I
but
wonder what
styptic, have it on hand.
well, I will, but was it a powder? I
Yeah, it was a
remember
powder.
it
Yeah.
was in this little clear
Stick. He had
plastic
a
thing.
stick,
He
maybe.
had a stick, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
powder that you pour on the dog's feet, and I feel so bad, I was pouring it on the dog's feet, but
oh
I keep a little
god.
journal for kids of, like, how to I can beat a cold, I can keep a cold at bay, I can do all these things, so my kids are like, "You gotta write it down, in case
You
something
do
happens."
actually, because
So
it's
I
all
wrote it all
lost if
down.
yeah,
Yeah, have styptic,
there yeah,
and
I
then you don't
think
have to go to the doctor.
well, I think that to the extent to which you don't go to the doctor, you're better off. Let me tell you a story which is really mind-bending, and I hope um, the person in my life who is, experiencing this, some distant relative, um, was diagnosed with severe nut allergies at age 3, okay? Had, a reaction to a peanut-containing soup. That was in the height of
Yep,
food allergies, so you take them to a hammer, all they see are nails. They do
yep,
the skin test says sensitivity, and they did some IgE testing, um, you know and I looked at the numbers, but I didn't know anything at the time, but
right,
and I'm like, these just don't seem that high to
yeah,
me," and they're like, "Oh, no. People have bad outcomes with lower numbers," so that you become this allergic person because you've had this
yeah,
diagnosis, right?
right,
Fast forward decades, the person gets retested, and the skin test comes up largely negative.
yeah,
So, it just makes you wonder, like, how many kids are out there who think they're allergic to certain foods. Certainly there are many people who are, but who have
and
never
it
had
can
an
go
they've
away,
not had an they've well, the
or
wisdom
maybe
is
can't.
that nut ones don't. Like,
Okay,
real nut allergies don't go away. But you can't really diagnose a food allergy unless you've had an oral challenge. And back then, and probably still now, oral challenges are not paid for by insurance, so it doesn't become the standard of care. That's how I understand
right,
it. But if you've had some kind of reaction, and then you have bad skin test and a blood test, like, okay, so you wanna err on the side of caution, I get that. But at some point, you would wanna revisit it, especially if you've gone many, many years without an anaphylaxis. But you
yeah,
don't because you're told that you don't outgrow it.
and you're terrified.
Yes, because you don't wanna die,
Yeah, and
because
that's what they
people
tell you, and
do.
that's what this guy was, "If you don't get a mammogram, whatever, like, you just never know," and I'm like, "False positives. I want nothing to do with your stuff." I was like, "My mother died at 95 in her bed. She never went to a doctor. Her mother died at 94 in her bed, never went to a doctor." He's like, "Well, I
That's
hope
why
you have
they
those genes." I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
my mother is 91, she's never had what she calls a mammiogram. I don't know
Nice,
that. Yeah,
nice.
and, being married to a radiologist, of course, I have had them, and,
Yes.
but, yeah, I just think we're
Well, you can
over
do
tested.
mammograms too, you can do other things, and actually, I think if you look at the numbers, um, just doing self-exams scrupulously is,
Yeah,
the
the
outcomes
best
are
way.
actually
Well,
so
I
my
think they
husband's always like, "What are you doing over there?" I'm like, "No, no, it's"
it's medically indicated.
not sending any weird signals. Like, it's just medical.
Just don't do it at the restaurant.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You start like watching TV, like, like this is what
Uh,
getting old is like, though. Like, you're
mm,
like, I don't give a fuck thing. It's like, you really don't. It's like, what?
right. Well, especially when you've been married for so long. I mean,
Yeah. Empty nest. It's an empty nest thing, also.
oh, well, you're not entirely empty nested. You're
Well, I have that giant
quasi.
baby living in the back,
Yeah.
but I mean, he's just a mascot at this point.
Do you have like a place where a separate house?
He just our house is, like, weirdly long, and his
Oh,
room
okay.
is all the way at the end, and he just I keep him busy constantly because all he really wants to do is watch YouTube, so when he's home, I let him go watch it because he's, like, not even home that much, so
Yeah.
we've got a good rhythm going, but he just does his thing, and turned out
It's
okay. Like, I was very worried about having a kid with Down syndrome, but it turned out okay,
well, how
and it's
could you
kinda
not
fun
be?
to have
How
him
can
around.
yeah, you've been like it's
Yeah,
incredible. And I
yeah,
think
he's good.
you said something earlier. You said that most of the people who have Down syndrome kids are liberals. How does that track? I mean, how can that be a thing?
Yeah, you know what?
Is it like a liberal gene? I mean,
That maybe isn't now I'm so glad you brought that up
because that can't
because
be true
yeah, they're all Catholic, first of all.
because
I
they
had a
didn't
Christmas party, I was like, "Oh, it starts on the first day of Hanukkah, like, should I worry about that for some of the parents?" And my friend was like, "Every single solitary person here is Catholic."
because
It's like,
they
"Okay."
didn't terminate the pregnancy.
Right, and, I mean, I'm not saying that's what I think, I'm saying that's what someone said to me, and I've observed that. They're
Huh.
really oh, I shouldn't say they're all Catholic, but
No, I know people who are parents who aren't, but, well, the
yeah, but
person I
this is
know,
LA.
it was a surprise.
This is
Yeah.
Los Angeles, like, this is you're really people think I mean, there's some people who would say you were a bad parent for having a kid like that, like, that's how
I
inverted it is. So
that is
there
the
is some
most
yeah, you're right, they're not all liberals, but
sick.
you're right, it's a
No, I'm not saying I'm right. I just when you said
no,
that,
no,
I thought,
you're
"Well,
right,
wait a
like,
minute, how does that track?"
when I think about it, the people with whom I've had conversations about the social services
Yes.
are liberal, the people who really defend it, but I will say everybody uses them. I use them. I mean, I don't get welfare, but, like, there's a regional center and there are programs that are open to kids with Down syndrome that regional center pays for. But I just you can't live in a place that taxes you. I mean, my husband's a professional. We went to school till we were 30. We're in a high tax bracket and it's
Yeah.
very expensive to live here. So we don't we end up, like, n not even breaking even at the end of the year. Like, it's not like it's just very expensive. So we're paying all this in taxes. They're taking it away. It's like federal taxes.
Right.
They take it away, and
You're
then they give
not
it
opting
back to
in.
you.
Right.
What am I supposed to do? Like, and it's this kid. Like,
And
it's
it
his
benefits
stuff.
him.
It's
Yeah.
his I would have a giant trust fund for that kid. If I got all my tax money back,
Oh my
we'd
gosh.
be fine. Yeah, like, it would
Yeah.
be no problem, but, like, this is how it operates and everybody uses it, but I don't defend it, and most people, like, they'll complain that they're gonna cut services or whatever, and I'm like I mean, a lot of stuff I actually don't take. There's tons and tons of stuff. People are
Mm.
just like, "You didn't sign up for that?" I'm like, "I'm not don't need a check." Like, I don't need that. I just
Mhm.
if they're having a summer camp, I'm applying, like
Sure.
but, yeah, there's a lot of, like, that sense of, well, this is it's like a sense of entitlement, but you are entitled if you've paid those taxes. Like, in a way, the people who are getting it out are people who paid in. They're not welfare queens, but
Right.
they're okay with it, and I'm not okay with
Well, I think it's just like, say for this year where they're not or until well, I'll see it when I believe it because I think it's possible they could reverse it to get votes. But so they're not going to extend the COVID money to subsidize insurance premiums, right? Past the end of this year. And
Oh, yeah, is that what that
that's
issue
why,
is?
yes, and that's why in part the insurance premiums are going so far up. And I know people who are just really hoping they reverse that because, they're in a jam.
You're right.
But you don't really want them. You want
Right.
people it's like I don't want people to suffer, but at some point, the pain has to be great enough that the public would just say, "Look, I'm open to a fix." But the problem is, like, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a progressive, and I said, on the one hand, it'd be great if they would do this so that people don't suffer needlessly next year. But the problem is they won't fix it. While they're not gonna fix it either way. Like, they're not gonna say, "Hey, we got a problem, let's really go back and fix it," because they never do, because there's no incentive to fix the system, because then you don't get reelected, because you have to tell people the bad news, and people have to step up and sacrifice so that our kids aren't totally screwed. But and I shouldn't say, like, I'm willing to do it, 'cause I don't know if I am. I mean, I live a pretty, like, cushy life, and I'm sure I've benefited greatly from a lot of things. But it's not sustainable, man.
It's funny that you use that example because when Obamacare was coming down,
You were
I
awake to it. You really were.
I was lived in Atlanta and I went friends, even my husband, but, like, we went in a small group 3 times to march in Washington against Obamacare, and I was not an activist, I don't like that stuff at all, and the only reason I said was this, I said, "This, if you really analyze the numbers, this change means that the majority of people will be dependent on the federal government, on taxes, on handouts, like, just because the healthcare system will then kind of tip over to be they said it wasn't public healthcare, but
But
it
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 is.
was, yeah, and it would make people's jobs reliant on it. Oh, if you cut Obamacare, then they cut the nurses and all that kind of stuff. So then all of a sudden at that moment, you can never go back because then the majority of the people have to vote for more. They will never vote for less. And if you have something that is a quasi democracy or whatever it is, even if it's just the perception of what 50% of the people want, you're just not going back. And I said, I don't think there's any stopping this because they're just stealing it. They're not even voting on it legitimately. But I don't want to tell my kids that I just sat around and let this happen without trying to stop it. I'm doing my best. And, if they steal it from me, then it's their bad. But yeah, but you're telling me it's exactly what's happening. People are now dependent on it and in different ways, and you're
Well,
not and now you have fucking GOP. That's what I heard this today. They were like, "Oh, the GOP coming up with a plan to save Obamacare or whatever." I was like, "What the hell?" Like,
it's like
what
clown
is
world.
it?
I know
Right,
how
right, what are we
w
doing?
it's like somebody put, like, a tilt-a-whirl, like, we're all just in some kind of blender, and then it's been vomited out, and, you just don't recognize anything anymore, and it comes to the like, you're like, "I wanna tell my kids I stood up for this," but it brings you to the point, like, it's like, what do you do now? Like,
Well,
the
now it's
survey
over.
no,
Yeah,
I mean
now the
about, like, but everything, like,
yeah.
the industri like, the war state, the
No, we're
surveillance
pirates. We
state.
we
Mhm.
stole an oil tanker from Venezuela yesterday. We are pirates. Our
It's
government are
I
pirates.
know.
Well, they invaded Syria. They deposed a sovereign leader of a sovereign country with the oldest continually existing city in the world, Damascus. They just invaded that country. So it's an empire. We have no control over it. So you don't
No,
have to worry about it anymore. Don't protest. Don't do anything. No, yeah, you have no
no, that's
control
the
over
question.
it. Ask your Roman guy if somebody in the freaking Teutoburg forest had any impact on what the emperor did.
No,
No.
it does seem that way, and I guess I sort of came into this, like, uh, you know, um, I'm paying attention because I woke up during COVID. Not that I didn't pay attention before, but it was in a much different way. It was a much more I take the media at face value. I watch the Today Show and, like, all that kind of stuff, which
So great. Don't you wish you could do that? Just take the blue pill, Jody. Just go back.
I do, but you can't go back. And so
No.
so now, like, you're in this totally brave new world, right? You see, like, what a shit show it all is. And in the health freedom movement, I think Trump got elected in part because of Bobby Kennedy and because you had people in Maha who probably against their real better judgment had magical thinking. And you realize, like, when people now in that group, because I'm very close into that, you you watch people go through this grieving because you've put somebody in an office that has certain beliefs, and then you watch while he can't do anything or he won't do anything, or is he like, you just don't know.
He
And
has some
it's
beliefs that aren't great. Precision
well,
medicine and this and that.
this what medicine? I'm sorry.
Precision medicine and
Yeah,
whatever.
and so it's like, but it wasn't that's not what he used to talk about before he got there. So you don't know how much horse trading is going on. You don't and it's impossible to ever know, I think, and maybe I'm too much of a normie, but I think it's
Oh,
impossible to know on any individual level if they're a mostly good actor under
I'll tell you what you
incredible
can
duress.
know. It's the
Okay, tell me.
person who does know The person who either knows the person or is very good at understanding psych tests, and that person, like everybody else, has taken psych tests. Somebody knows all about how your brain works and that guy's brain works. That guy is not getting anywhere if he doesn't pass muster that this is exactly how it was going to end up. And that's why I knew all along.
That it
You
was
just
gonna
don't
happen
get
this way.
anywhere if you're really going to get somewhere.
Right, you
You
right,
just it's not happening.
you're not gonna ascend
It's not a
unless you're
black
with the
pill.
program.
Yeah, it's not a black pill. What it is have been you believe that the
Me personally or
system
one believes?
I don't know,
Any
not you, not you.
Okay, one believes.
Almost everyone believes that anyone who even says black pill to what I just said thinks there is a system, that the system works a certain way, and by my saying, "You're never getting anywhere in that system," they think I'm a black pill. What I'm actually saying is, that's not the system. That's not the system. We don't have a representative democratic republic. Like, that's
Ag
not the system. We have an illusion, but we have, like, an empire or whatever you wanna call it, a technocracy coming down. That's what we have. So you can tell that that guy is not going to change it because if he were changing it, it would be a democratic republic with representation, and it isn't.
right, and because it isn't, he can't anyway, no matter who he is or what he wants or etcetera,
Right, but if he was gonna cause real trouble, they wouldn't have put him in there.
right? Or they'd get rid of him. But
Yeah,
okay,
like Ron Paul won Iowa, but nobody would ever know that.
right. I am
That's
not
what
d
he did.
I'm not disagreeing at all with your take
Mhm,
on it. I'm in the same camp. I do
mm,
think that we don't, all of that. But and maybe this is my denial, it's like when I think about during COVID, right? It mattered if you lived in Florida or if you lived in New York.
yeah, that's for
Your life was
sure.
different,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
you can say anything you want about DeSantis, but the person who is DeSantis, the avatar that is that in
Yeah, yeah,
that office,
right,
he did things, and that government in Florida did things that improved the life of many people and
absolutely, yeah.
actually sought more truth. So in that case, if the voting mattered, let's just say it mattered. Let's just say,
I
okay, I
still
don't
don't think the
know.
voting mattered, but okay, good.
Yeah, I'm not sure because, like, I always say,
He's like a
if it really
CIA agent, so, like, they just let him be the good guy.
right,
But
but he was the good
but
guy,
he was, of
right?
course, that's what I say
So
about
so
limited hangouts.
the
We
end
get more
result
evidence.
is
Yeah,
somebody benefits. So if you look at who is in HHS right now and the vaccine committee and how they're saying like
yeah,
we're not gonna say every child should get the Hep B
yeah,
vaccine,
yeah,
and people are losing their minds. I mean,
yeah.
or we're going to take another look at the childhood schedule. We're going to try not to do this junk science. These products are inherently unsafe or they wouldn't have a liability shield, right? There's this huge moral hazard. So I guess the question is, can you leverage certain things like that for good in a system that isn't a representative system? Like, this is the best we're ever going to get. How do you participate to encourage that without being a fool or without
Well,
wasting your time? You see what I'm
there
saying?
are 2 ways to look at it. Yeah, I do know what you're saying. One is that every gain that you get or any radical gain like Roe versus Wade is actually a setup for a massive backlash like a, constitutional amendment.
Right.
So there's that possibility. But there's the thing that I say about Ron Paul versus Trump. If you wanna say that both of those guys are controlled opposition,
I
if
just
you
can't believe that about Ron Paul. I'm
no, you can
sorry.
but people say that, like he has a
Sure.
Masonic handshake, whatever. I don't care. Because if you think that to keep me quiet, you gotta give me a guy like Ron Paul, I'll take it.
Right.
If you can get away with giving me Trump, then this is horrible. You know what I mean? Like we've lost all of our critical thinking. Like and don't think that I'm like a Trump derangement syndrome.
No,
Trump's
I
an
don't.
avatar. So yeah, so the Ron Paul thing, like give me the more of a hangout your limited hangout needs to be, the better. Like RFID, they kept trying to give you RFID, like whatever the
I don't know
things
who
that
that
are
what is
like
that?
RFID is like the thing they inject in you, like a tracking device, whatever. I don't think they got anywhere with that. So, but you have your phone. You can't go to the bathroom without your phone.
I
Uh,
have. I have
yeah,
actually.
yeah. I mean, maybe girls
It is
sometimes, but
physically
guys won't
possible.
go to the bathroom. Yeah, like it's like so. They
But you're
don't
right.
need.
We're like when people say
Yeah.
like, "Oh, they're gonna merge us with, the Borg," it's like we're already there. We're
Yeah, we're
already there.
definitely already there, and
It's like,
so
"Oh, what's that thing? Oh, hey Siri." I mean, we
100%.
yeah.
So they don't have to do they get away with a lot, but I want them to give me I don't want them to be able to get away with too much. So if in Florida, I almost feel like Florida was like a relief valve to make you believe that there is a chance, or to get DeSantis elected at some point, or as a petri dish, they need a control group. Like maybe that's what it really was. I don't know. But um
But then
you
the
can
y
either limited hangout, or it's set up for like some things are one and some things are the other.
but then it begs the question too. It's like if you want like, give me Ron Paul, give me the limited hangout. And in this case, like HHS and the people there, I and you say, "Well, we have an empire, there's nothing you can do about it." On the bigger scale, yes. I mean, what we are a
Oh,
lawless I shouldn't
yeah.
even say we. The government, whoever these people are, they're a lawless enterprise, and they are just set up to keep us at each other's throat and extort
Yeah.
everything. But you have this situation where maybe if you supported certain people with certain agendas and you tried to do what you could to advance them, um, you might make life better for people. And let me give you an example. Like Leslie Manukian, her organization is Health Freedom Defense Fund. She lives in Idaho. She pretty much single-handedly got the Idaho Medical Freedom Bill passed. In that state now, you don't have to opt out of interventions. You just don't they don't get to tell you to participate in anything, including wearables, testing, vaccines. The thing can never be repealed. There can be no emergency like COVID that could ever happen again. And so that is an example of somebody advocating in the system, lobbying for something, getting it passed, and improving the lives of a whole state of people. And maybe saving lives because they're not going to be forcing vaccination on kids, and some people are gonna get injured by that, or it just gives people a little bodily autonomy.
I
Counter me
I'm
on that.
super grateful that you push back, because I like to be histrionic. I like to tell you my story, like you make a bold statement, and that's my thing. But you were saying that called to mind four things that actually are part of my kind of repertoire already. My my pronouncement after Syria was that I would never vote in a federal election again.
Yeah, yeah, I get
Once
it.
they have,
I feel like
once
I
they
never will either.
yeah, and the Obamacare thing, like, it was very clear the fix was in. I did protest, but now I feel like once they've gotten the tipping point, you're never getting I don't think you're getting a libertarian society back, but that's very big picture. I do
Yes.
I am specific about the federal thing, because here I live in this town where there may be a little vote, like a town council vote that says whether um, whatever, some regulatory thing that I like or
Mhm.
don't like. I have on actually, I put a wouldn't book a podcast because there's some town hall meeting, in a couple of weeks, and I'm gonna go. So there is something to that, like to pay attention. And yes, I totally believe that you can push back. And I those people who do that work and what you did and stuff, I was so grateful to you. And actually, I don't mean to discourage that. I think that's
Right.
fantastic, but that I guess that's a political thing, but I think of it as
But it is because you
it's not
have,
really
especially at the
voting.
state. No, but at the state level, it's using the
Yeah.
legislative apparatus, and I think that's where people can have impact is locally and at the state level. The
Yes.
federal but there are actually parts of the federal government if you're in a certain group of people
Okay.
where you may be able to influence people or get people into positions who can steer the ship a little bit.
I
I
don't know
don't
about that, because
uh,
John Lott was did that in the FBI. He was like the gun czar or whatever, and they were like, "We're just waiting for you to go away because we're Democrats and we're not gonna do this." But I will say two more things that are on my one is, I do believe that it's possible that the whole history of human freedom is just kicking the can of
and
tyranny
down
down
the
the
road.
road.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge advocate, believe it or not, of process. I actually think if we don't use the process of trying to get things passed, trying to stop things, blah, blah, blah. But really fighting things in court, I really think that's important is just to
You
like,
still
if they've
believe in the
crossed the
courts?
line. I believe in exercising the process because if you don't exercise the process,
You're not gonna have it.
you wouldn't believe how entrenched the process is, and it's your only hope. Like, trial by jury is really important. Like, there shouldn't be plea bargains, there shouldn't be any of that. We still have it. Don't not don't serve on the jury if you don't want to. I don't care about that, but there's jury nullification. I mean, these things still exist, and I think yeah, do I believe in the courts? Like, yeah, there's a lot of corruption there, especially at the high level policy thing. Like, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. At the highest levels, if they have an agenda and they can't get it through because if they like if Hillary had done warp speed, there would have been, everybody would have protested, but it
right.
didn't. So they know what they want. They're manipulating. They're trying to get you to go along with it. At a certain point, the technocracy is coming down. It is like I do
It's
believe.
sort of here already.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, but really, like, in 5 years, the AI is going to be all powerful, basically, and that's Trump. Trump is the face of that. Trump is the
right,
one who's
right.
gonna take responsibility for that so that Newsom can just say, "Well, I what can I do? I just have to do my best to shepherd this,
Do you
whatever."
think he's gonna be next?
I do. Yeah, I feel
Oh,
like it's, Newsom and
God.
AOC or whatever. Yeah, that's why
Oh, no.
They did the LA, the Posse Comitatus in LA, so Newsom could be, like,
Oh,
the hero against Trump. Like, Trump did him a huge favor by making that,
God,
his
it's
stand. And then, but, like, with the vaccines, I said in when they had that symposium or whatever at the World Health Organization in 2019 in December
oh, the
saying
table exercise?
we should no, that was Event 201. No, they said we should look at adjuvants. Remember it was really like a viral clip where they were
No,
in session. It was either the UN or the World Health Organization, and they said, yeah, there are lots of clips. And then right after that, that Indian professor from MIT, who's American, but he's doctor, whatever, like people, not Sanjay or whatever, not Sanjay Gupta, but the guy,
yeah.
he was in the MIT classroom and he was explaining how adjuvants work. He had a whiteboard.
Oh, I don't
It
remember
was
this.
this guy is well known. I can actually
It's
find
not
his
Restev Levy, is it?
no, it was like an Indian guy. Um,
It was like an Indian guy. I don't know.
Maybe it was Pakistani or whatever. MIT was showing adjuvants.
Oh, you were saying you were like were they queuing something up for us?
This is what I said at the time, is that what the God, I didn't realize, like, you just write vaccine and it says a whole bunch of other shit.
Oh,
He was on
yeah.
I think he was on Tripoli a lot, and then Sam had a fight with him or something. You'll
Okay,
definitely know
I'll
who he was.
yeah.
So, I just remember saying everybody was super excited, and I'm not trying to crap on it, but I said, "Well, either the worm is turning here or they have a new technology of vaccines, so they
Ah,
wanna
there you go.
discredit the old one
The
because that's
old
how they do it." Like, they'll start they'll allow the
sowing some
lawsuits.
doubt.
Yeah, they'll allow
Yeah.
lawsuits on, like, a drug or whatever when the patent is expiring, or, like, with Roundup, when they sold it from Monsanto to Bayer. I was like, "Oh, it's in Europe now." So now
Mm.
Europe will probably ease up on the anti-Roundup laws or the anti-GMO laws, and we'll start having lawsuits about Roundup, which we did because it was no longer, in the corpo governmental continuum of here.
D do you think they're
So
doing the same things with psych drugs now? Because, you see a lot of articles
really?
in yeah, like the Wall Street Times and then or the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times on, like, ADHD diagnosis and how that's like a gateway to too many psych drugs, and they have other things on SSRIs being, like, terrible, and it's really surprising to me that those drugs now are being openly discussed, like the actual downsides of them and the lack of real efficacy data and how too many people are on them and the downsides of them. But the mainstream press has taken that up. And I think, what does that signal? Like, what do you
But,
make of that?
you
I mean,
know,
I don't know.
first of all, it's Dr. Shiva, and you don't know Dr. Shiva? Shiva? Uh,
Maybe?
so yeah, so, you know, anytime I say not everything is fake, like, that's basically the only time I'm wrong. In my opinion, just about everything is fake. So if they're backing off on ADHD drugs, I would say the absolute first thing I would expect is they have something else they wanna sell you.
Right, right.
'Cause I think
God,
big
it's so
pharma
depressing.
is really much weightier and more powerful than anyone really understands. Like, you think of the military industrial complex, defense, energy, finance, but I think that big pharma and then, like, big ag and whatever,
No, but look what
they're
Big Pharma was able
big.
to do. They shut
Yeah, of
down the
course, they
world,
run the
like,
world, yeah,
shut
so
down to vaccines. So, yes,
yeah. So
and
don't
and it
underestimate the value of, like, whatever their next drug is. But
right,
if
right.
you were thinking on a sociological level, like, Australia just banned social media for teens or whatever, something like that. I didn't read the actual, like, that's what the headlines
Well,
say.
and you think, "Great," but
I
they're
don't think
gonna
great.
do
I think what's the
right,
catch? And then
that's what I
it
mean.
said
It sounds good,
it's the
but
social media companies are being charged with enforcing it. So there and what's the first thing you would do if you were a social media company and you had to make sure that minors were not using your products? What's the first thing you would do? I think you would look at their faces and decide whether or not they were adults or children.
and
You
so
would
you
just
need
have
facial
facial look at your phone.
recognition.
You look at
Yeah.
my husband's phone opens when he, like, looks at it.
Yeah, I don't have that, and
And
I don't
I
want
think
it.
he can pay for stuff by looking at his phone. Like, he literally just looks at his phone and it gets paid for. It's crazy. He's like, "You should do this." I'm like, "Ah."
Yeah.
So, um, so as soon as I saw that, it's like, "Oh my gosh, they're going to map every single solitary face of a person before they get a driver's license." Like,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
probably gonna do away with driver's licenses. So now they have every and then it's not gonna work. Like, the
You're
social
making
media
me
ban
wanna
isn't
go,
gonna work.
like, get another glass of wine, Monica.
Sorry, I'm not no, this is what I'm telling you not to worry that much, but I cannot tell you how much I admire and appreciate your work and all the
Oh,
other people's work who do that. No, I'm not
I know, I know.
I'm just saying it was really
No, I
valuable
think
to me personally.
I think but see, I think that's why it matters, and I think that's why like, I don't have any illusions about the people on the big stage. I mean, I think it's like watching
Yeah,
Netflix. I really do. Although they have a great deal of power over us
yeah,
in a way
yeah,
because they're shaping our reality, right? It's like
yeah.
what's his name said. But I do think, and this is where I wonder, like there is some leverage somewhere. There is. And like you're gonna go to the town hall meeting. There was a situation like just in my town, and I know we're getting kind of long here, but the fluoridation system broke down in our town.
Really?
Yeah,
Funny.
so they weren't fluoridating for, like, the last 5 years, and people didn't know,
Wow. Did
and I
everybody turn
went
into a libertarian?
e
You just
everyone's
start
teeth
thinking clearly?
everyone's yes, and everyone's teeth fell out.
Teeth fell
Like,
out.
it was just amazing, like, we all have dentures now, but, I went
Wow,
to
no
this
one knew.
no one like, a lot of people didn't know, and some people were really pissed, and they're like, "Well, we need to talk to our dentists," and and so it's interesting because I went to this meeting, the mayor has these open town hall meetings, and she's actually not too bad in this town, and, so she was talking about how we have a real budget issue this year. Most everyone's in crisis for money, and then the fluoridation system's broken. Now, they're gonna have to repair it, and it's gonna be a lot of money to repair this broken fluoridation system. And my feeling is there is some leverage. So now is the time. If you wanted to get fluoride out of the water, you go in and you sit down and you say, "Hey, I have a cost savings opportunity for you. And I know it's going to be unpopular with some people, but here's the data. Portland, Oregon, who is like farther to the left than we are, they don't fluoridate.
Mm.
Europe doesn't fluoridate. Many towns in this country don't fluoridate. You can provide targeted alternatives to populations who you feel would benefit from fluoridation because it doesn't not do anything in the mouth. I mean,
Yeah.
and dental health is very important, but you can provide targeted treatments like with the money you're going to
Yeah,
take to
good point.
fluoridate the system, and you can get this out of water, which should just be used to hydrate. So I should get my shit together to get that going because nobody else is gonna do it. Not that
Yes,
I mean, it's just not happening. So that is something you can make change for the better by doing something.
I totally agree,
And it's a
and
local situation. I'm not saying you don't agree with that.
yeah,
I'm just
no,
saying
you're helping
I
me clarify my thoughts. So, what I would say is that I'm that these things I'm talking about long-term big picture. These things are temporary, right? So these laws, something's going to change and things are going to change. So a lot of these laws are, by their nature temporary, and that's great because we only live in the now. So that's awesome. Let's do it. You're right. And if you can get something done real, it's really going to affect you. That is great. I don't have a lot of hope against the technocracy, but I also think that
Agreed.
if you
Agreed.
have an opportunity, like right now with the fluoride thing, or right here in this town, where there's some big change policy thing, some unique opportunity where there's a destruction or whatever, and that's just been destroyed for you,
Right.
and you want to, have that impact because you're happens to have that opportunity, then then that temporary opportunity will have a lasting change because they're just, not going to build 9,000 houses, again for a long time.
Exactly. No, and it's like there's a big data center was just voted down in this state. 1,000 acres. They were going to take 1,000 acres, and they were going to do this huge data center. And the town council or city councils up north in Indiana, they deliberated till 4 a.m, and the
Mhm.
vote came against
That's
the data
that's
center. And that might not have happened if people hadn't said, we have to lobby against this
Yeah, that's
because
great.
money will always win. And
Yeah.
I don't know. So and it's not like I'm out there doing all this activism. I'm
Yeah.
not, but I'm trying
I
to pick and choose. I'm trying to figure out what is my, it's like the Obamacare protest. What is my responsibility to my
yeah.
children and to our society to try to throw
Yeah,
some
that's true.
gum
It
in the
was just
works?
symbolic. But for me also, I think it's quite demoralizing living in LA because I lived in a town that said no to the 5G on the school, and the Trump administration said, "Yeah, no is not an answer." And
Oh
so it just
goodness.
happened. I mean, we didn't take up arms. I was renting, so it didn't
I mean,
really
what are you going to do?
you
Yeah,
couldn't do anything. It was the Trump administration. So I was like,
I
"What?" This
know.
was, like, shortly after
But
into
of
his
course it is.
term,
Of course it
and
is
I
because
yeah.
you've always said you bring in like it's the mosaic, right? You don't care if
Yes,
you're
yes.
red or blue, you bring in the person who's going to be able to bring their people along with them who
Yeah,
normally wouldn't vote for something like this.
yeah,
Yeah. There were a
yeah,
couple things
and
I wanted to say before we go though,
sure.
but now I can't. Do you think we're ever gonna bridge the gap between people who just are at each other's throats? Is it
Like
worth doing?
the
Like,
TDS and the Magtards?
yeah, that or even just, vaccines or, abortion or not even those hot topics, but anything where people are just they're just we're all so reactive and so ready to hate each other. And I just don't know how do we humanize each other? And so we have a conversation so there's at least some hope of fighting
You
upward.
know, my thought was,
Am I a Pollyanna?
no,
Maybe.
the answer is 100% Christian charity, and I'm just Catholic, I have never been anything else, so, for me, I'm like, if you were just Catholic, like, you have to be nice to each other, like, you have to have works of mercy and everything, and I was just thinking, they have brought hostile, antagonistic polarity into Catholicism
Oh,
right
bad.
now, like, and they have the trads, the people who call themselves trads, which they're, in my opinion, are not, they're like, "Well, church isn't good enough for me, so I'm not going." I'm like, "You're a Protestant. That's what makes you a Protestant. You're hardcore, arrogant, but you're a Protestant." And, so they've even brought that kind of polarity here, and actually, I always get the feeling that the more that the big picture is getting unified and everybody agrees the same, the more they just have the little surface things, like, look at Trump. He's like, "I'm gonna subsidize babies. I'm gonna subsidize farms. I'm gonna steal oil tankers." Like, that guy, that's just the welfare warfare super state. Like,
Yeah.
what are we fighting about? It's the
On
exact same
steroids.
as it's
Yeah.
always gonna be. It's like it's more to he's more of a socialist than a fascist, like, and fascists were socialists. Like, that's the thing. It's the
Yeah.
same. So I don't know. I really do think that true genuine charity is the only answer, and I
And
think
that's
that
done face to face.
and you only realize that by, I also have this theory that when you finally, like, get it, you die. So we're only here.
I don't all right, okay.
Nobody who's left really gets it.
Well, see, I always just counted on that when you die, you get to know everything. And if that's not true, I can't say I'll be pissed because I won't be,
Oh,
right?
no, I
So
think you do. I just think that, like, you're here to learn something, and when you
and then
learn
once
it,
it yeah, then you're
you get to move on, and then but the thing is, nobody here really gets it
right,
because
because if they
when you
did, they
get it, you don't
wouldn't
have
be
to do your
here,
time anymore, like,
right?
you're done.
Well,
That's what
there
I
are
tell
things about
myself
this
when
I
I've
enjoy
had
my
young
time.
friends die.
Yes.
Say to you. Yeah.
Well, there yeah, I mean, there's no explaining that, but, I'm enjoying my time here, and I'm trying to do the best I can with it. So, yeah, but that's a good point you make.
No, I love what you're doing, and it just being I guess I feel like I you can read a lot of stuff, like, in, philosophy or religion that tells you Martin Luther King Jr., like, they'll tell you, you have to speak out. And you actually do stuff, and the people you're talking about are doing stuff, and that's true. I underrate that, and that what you guys did was so valuable. Uh, and maybe just, speaking out, obviously, I don't know if it does anything at all,
I don't
but
know.
I try
Um,
and maybe it's
oh,
my little relief valve so I don't feel like what more can I do? And maybe it's my way of doing nothing. I really don't know. But yeah,
I don't think that's true. I think we all do no, I shouldn't say we all do our part because it's not true, but, I mean, you raise awareness and you just I think you do what you can. It's an individual thing, and, like, when I think about the no college mandates work, I mean, some people would say, "Oh, that's why we don't have college mandates anymore." I don't think that's true. I think I mean, I do think there was a push against
well,
it. We led that, and I think that pressured they might still have them had that work not be done. But I think an equally important part of that work was we provided a space for thousands of people to come together and to network and to figure out what they had to do to not take an injection they didn't want to take.
and
And
that
we were
actually
that it
worked
could,
for us, for
and
my
it
family, your
and
advice.
and it worked for many people. And
Yeah.
that is even if you didn't really have the impact that you think you may have had, whatever, you changed something.
Oh, I
And
do get emails a lot or I did many, many emails that said that people just listening to my show, which had nothing to do with that, just having just having people who sound sane
yes,
validate your, like, "You wanna do what? What is that
yeah,
stuff?" Like, "Yes, like, that's stupid, and don't do that." And many people said that was valuable, and it just made
it is
them have
valuable.
courage to stand up for themselves in
Yep.
their own households, because that was the problem, it was in your
Oh,
own household.
yes, yes, yes. I'm so glad I'm not yoked to somebody who doesn't have the same
Yeah.
like
I'm not
mine.
either, but it is true that, we got teenagers, they're gonna
Like when Jack went to work where he went to work, I shouldn't say his name, but I can beep
well,
that
that's not
out.
his real name, obviously.
Yeah, well, it actually isn't. But I thought, God, if I first of all, I'm glad they weren't mandating at that time, but I thought if they tell him to inject cyanide, he wants this job, he's gonna
Yeah,
do it.
no, it's an
Like,
important
so
job, yeah.
yeah, it was important to him. He wanted that job and there was nothing
Yeah.
I could say to him. And fortunately, they weren't mandating
Yeah.
anything.
That was
So
just timing, right? Because I know
it
people in
was
that
timing.
industry who did have
Had
to.
to. Yeah.
Oh,
But,
it was so
yeah. Oh, it was insane, and when I think about like, you forget how insane it was, and then I'll see a picture of women running outside, like a track meet with masks on. I'm like, "Are you kidding
I
me?"
see
Like
people walking around the street with
oh,
masks on the
I
street or
know.
in their car by
By
themselves.
themselves.
But
Yeah.
so I just feel like you can see it is kind of like, The Blob, like Steve McQueen's Blob. It's like gets bigger and he goes, like takes in a breath and then it like blows the breath out. And then it takes in a breath and it blows the breath. It keeps getting bigger and bigger. So the blob is growing. But when it breathes out and you get to like get out of its grip and the like little needles that are sticking out all over the place, I feel like
Well, I'll
that's
take it.
save
I'll take
yourself
it. Yeah.
and that's the thing, it's temporary, your fight is now. I think it's oppressive for us to worry about the future, like this technocracy that's coming down. As my sister used to have a bumper sticker, the dead one, that said, "I feel so much better since I gave up hope." And she's like,
I
"No,
love
it's
it.
true." Like, I'm sure it is true,
Well,
but
this is how I justify not worrying about it, I think. 20, 50 years ago, if I had thought about the restrictions that were in place for us now, I would have thought, "Oh, how terrible," and I thought, "Well, people will adjust." And I'm not trying to dismiss that it's not gonna be a terrible
Yeah.
thing, but there isn't anything I can do about it. But if I can make things a little better for a little bit of time for myself and my family, that's what you
If
want.
it weren't for the nanobots that they may be injecting into us or, like, literally genetically,
Mhm.
like, splicing out our will for freedom, I would say human nature will not stand this. This will not abide. So,
Yeah.
eventually, it'll collapse in on itself 200 years from now. I mean, I think our problem is that we wanna see it. We wanna see it end. We wanna see the end. We're at the beginning. We're not at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
We're at the end of the last one. And
Interesting.
so this is the new one, and it's gonna suck, and hopefully our little liberty genes will, keep popping up, like Down syndrome is always gonna pop up. You might kill them all, but they're gonna pop up. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
keep killing them.
It's like a whack-a-mole.
Yeah, you're gonna have to keep killing them, and eventually, you guys are gonna run out of, hammers, and there's someone's gonna get through.
Well, I hope
But yeah,
so.
we're not gonna see the ending, but
Let's make the best of it. And
yeah,
in the
we
and
can.
and while we do, Monica, where can people find you?
Thank you. Monica Perez show. I tweet. I realize that Uncle Elon has absolutely completely like just put me in the box, like the cool
Me
hand me
too.
box.
Yeah,
But I
I got
mean,
nothing.
this is my example. I was telling you, like I just tweeted. This is the kind of thing that I would get like tons of answers to back in the day because it was nothing and the algorithm wouldn't put it down or anything. It's like, what's your favorite Christmas movie? I got like no, not only no retweets, no hearts, no answers. I got no views. I'm like, you
It's
wouldn't even
amazing,
put
isn't it?
this in
Yeah.
somebody's like, what's your favorite you just hate me. Like, you just hate me personally, you wanna hurt me. Oh, maybe they hate Christmas. Maybe it was like an algo thing. Maybe they said,
Maybe.
"What's your favorite porn movie?" I bet
Oh,
that
wow,
would
there you
get
go.
oh my
But
gosh.
but, I
Okay, I
don't
feel
want I
better
don't
now.
wanna know. I don't wanna know what
No, I
anyone's
love a
favorite.
porn star martini, and I was trying to find a recipe for that. Oh my goodness.
God, what is it?
Oh, porn star martini, it's so good. Oh my gosh. It sounds bad. It's
Yeah,
passion
it's
fruit
even like a
liqueur.
porny way you said it. So
Yeah.
good.
Oh, it's so good. I'm sorry, yeah. But, don't try to find a recipe for it.
Okay. Well,
Like,
I don't even
as
wanna
soon
put
as
that
you
in.
put porn in your browser.
Well, I remember one time years ago, I was trying to get to the White House, and I didn't realize it was whitehouse.gov, and whitehouse.com is a porn site, which is
No.
oh, it's awful, and like, the stuff, like, and it's not just like, you must be maybe now it's you must be 21 to enter, but I remember I was like, whitehouse.com, and then I'm like, "What?" And these images just came up on the screen, and they were
Oh, your mic
oh,
is out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know, I hit that, and I thought, that's so immoral, not because it's a porn. I have lots of feelings about that, but just that a kid would be Googling the White House, and he
Yeah,
would
no,
end up
that's
there,
yeah,
and
it's
whoever.
intentional. Yeah.
Yes, and it was anyway, but I don't wanna end on that sad note in the porn
No.
star martini. I was asking, where can we find you drinking your porn star
Yes.
martini?
Yes. Well, I actually do have a little, website, which I have not it's going to be called the PS. It's not a martini, when I put that recipe on monicamixes.com,
Okay.
but that's just I actually have many lovely Christmas cocktails there, so if you want to, check that out, but it's of note.
No, I'll put it in the show notes, and I'm gonna list my cocktail blog in the show notes too, and
Awesome, yeah, well,
we can
yours
do that
is
together.
so higher level. Mine really literally look like mine is written in crayon and yours is like a calligraphy. But, but it's just for my own personal use, and, so I have Twitter, I have Substack, Monica Perez Show, and on your favorite podcasting platform, but if you go to iTunes, you can listen to it commercial free for only $4.99 a month,
As I
and
do, as I
that's how I
do.
pay thank you, that's how I pay my
Yep,
producer, so I do appreciate the
and your
little,
producer is excellent.
he's Snobby Bobby, he's on my Monica's Movies, which is a premium feature, and yesterday we did It's a Wonderful Life, so
Which I have never seen.
well, I used to love it, but hanging out with those guys who
They
ruin
make you hate it.
everything. I mean, it's worse than I thought. I thought it was just like an apology for reserve banking, fractional reserve banking. It's like, oh, didn't you see the occult symbolism there? And that ritual was. And
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my god, now I hate that movie. Turn it
Alright,
on.
I'm gonna watch it, and then I'll listen to your thing so I can
It's
decide if I really love it or hate it.
It's really a great movie. It's terrible, it's bad, it's awful, you shouldn't love it, but you're gonna cry, you're just gonna love it.
Well, hey, Overboard's one of my
Watch
favorite
it right
movies
now.
of all time.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go watch that right now.
Isn't it the best?
I don't know, I don't think is that Goldie Hawn?
Yes!
Alright, okay.
It's the
I'll go
stupid
watch it.
movie in the world, and I don't know why, I just love it so much.
My husband's not home tonight, so this would be my one
Oh,
chance.
yeah, I don't know that I'd spend it on Overboard, there's so many things, but good luck finding something great. So,
Thank you, dear.
well,
Thank
this
you for
was a
having me, it's
delight.
so
Oh, it's
fun.
so fun, and, I just love you, Monica.
I
Happy
love you
holidays
too.
to you, Merry Christmas.
I, am beholden to you in many ways.
Well, right back at you with my podcast stuff, and I will learn how to live stream and promote this podcast at some point, so I'll let
Whenever.
you know when it drops. Mwah. See you
Thank you.
later.
Bye,
Good
sweetie.
night. Bye.